I've always found it ironic that like the single most stressful thing as a musician is vacation. And I have felt this for like my whole life. I remember when I was a kid, my mom would have me bring my flute everywhere and she would have me practice on vacation. Both of my parents are musicians, so I think that from their perspective that made sense. And it also had me performing for family members and things like that when I just like really didn't want to do that. But got me in front of a crowd early on, all good experience. But when we have this relationship with our instrument and we have the desire to keep in shape or to practice for something that we have coming up post-vacation, we can't always just take a complete break from our instrument. It's just not feasible. It's kind of like an athlete going for a run every morning or working out every day on vacation. That makes sense to most people. But a lot of times if we go on vacations with people who are not musicians and don't kind of understand the world, we get judged a lot for it. And not to mention the immense amount of practice guilt that we feel for having a good time away from our instrument. And that might be silly to people who don't play music, but we can't just leave work at work. Playing an instrument is a physical act. We are in shape with our instrument sometimes, and if we take a whole week off, we don't feel the same. And if we have work to go back to, we can't always just take a full week off and leave work at work. Hi, I'm Chelsea. I'm a mindset coach for musicians. I'm also a flutist, and I help people gain clarity and confidence in their careers and in their musical lives. A lot of what I talk about is mindset and it's applicable to everybody, but this video in particular is applicable to anyone who takes work on vacation or can't seem to take a break and kind of don't want to take a break while they're on vacation too. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But first of all, I want to give you full permission to not take your instrument on vacation. I know in August I'm going to take a week and a half without my flute, and I think that's okay. A lot of times we're meant to feel guilty about this, but I really think that if you need some time away, just take some time away. You'll get it back. It's like riding a bike, especially if you've been doing it for a really long time. I remember I didn't practice for 8 months, and I actually think I was better for it at the end. That's a whole nother video though. So first of all, you're allowed to not take your instrument. But if you are going to take your instrument on vacation because you want to keep in shape, because you have an audition right after your vacation, which so often happens after a summer break, so like in August, or during a winter break, let's say in the winter months when you go somewhere for the holidays or New Year's, and then you have to immediately jump back into school mode or audition mode, people aren't always going to be so understanding. Family members can judge you, and I want to talk about how to deal with some of that. Taking your instrument along with you on vacation can actually be a form of self-care. You're taking care of the person you are going to be when you're in that audition or when you're on stage post-vacation. If you are willing to put in a certain amount of time every day, set that up for yourself, implement it, then you can do the rest of your vacation not having that voice in the back of your head. But decide ahead of time how much you're going to practice. If you're going to practice like 30 minutes and you think that that's enough and that's great, double down on that commitment. So practice maybe only for 30 minutes. Set a timer. Tell everybody involved before you go that that's what you're going to be doing. Protect that time, set an appointment with yourself, and keep it as diligently as you would a rehearsal. Something like that. Make time for it. And if people really care about you and care about your goals and understand you, they're not going to question it. They're going to be like, oh yeah, you have to practice. And then you're going to go on vacation and you're going to feel like you don't want to practice. It's going to happen. You're going to be like, well, I could just go get coffee with everybody instead of staying back at the house. Or, well, someone is still asleep, and even though I told them that I was going to be practicing at 10 a.m., I don't want to bother them. We can think about all these scenarios in our head, but one thing that I really recommend doing is visualizing yourself feeling uncomfortable about practicing on vacation and doing it anyway. Because you know you're going to be so much better off after vacation. You're not going to feel like you need to catch up. You're going to know that you did work to ensure the comfort of your future self and to take care of yourself. So visualize yourself staying in while others go out, practicing like you said you would, and other people may be judging you. they don't have to stand on a stage. If they knew what that was like, then they wouldn't mind you practicing. Be willing to be judged by those people. If they have never done what you are doing, then they will not know the kind of care and preparation that needs to go into something like a graduate school audition, something like an undergraduate audition, a professional audition, or even just a performance, anything like that. They're not going to understand why you're working while you're not being paid. That's something a lot of people don't get about practicing. They're not really going to understand why you're electing to do work on vacation. They're going to see it as work, and it is work. Just like working out is work. But I would also assume that they wouldn't question an athlete if they went for a morning run. So be ready for that. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You can just say, I want to keep in shape, and so I feel good for the performances that are coming up. Now, make a priority list. These are your essential must-hits if you are practicing on vacation. Like if you got these 3 things done in the day, you made a little bit of progress on these 3 things, then you will feel more solid. This means not a lot of time for playing around, unless you just want to do that afterward and you have time and you want to do that. That's totally fine. But make a priority list for, okay, these are the 3 things that in these 20 to 30 minutes, if I get nothing else done, I know I will have done my due diligence on this stuff. That can be super powerful. I recommend doing this all year round, whether you're on vacation or not. But if you do these 3 things, then they will get you closer to where you want to be. And usually what those 3 things are is what makes you feel the least comfortable in your body if you were to think about playing them on stage. So for me, that's the litmus test. Like, what am I least comfortable with? That's the most I have to spend time on. So write down those things, follow those things, eat your vegetables first, then do whatever you'd like with the rest of your time, if you want to practice or not. But knowing that you have deliberately decided, I know that for the comfort of my future self, that's what I need to do. I'm hitting these every day. Then I would make your space into sort of a distraction-free zone. You're going to be tempted to pick up your phone and scroll, because practicing in a place with other people that you're not normally around, whether that's a family vacation or a friend's vacation, that is going to be a little bit more stressful. You're going to be more self-conscious. Anticipate that ahead of time. Really know that you can make mistakes in front of those people. You can make ugly sounds. They're not going to know. You can laugh it off later. It doesn't matter. Expand the safe space that you create for yourself in your practice room to make mistakes so far that it reaches past all the other people wherever you're staying. And if you're staying in a hotel, you can plan for that ahead of time too. Maybe ask if they have an extra conference room you can use. Picture doing that, visualize doing that before you go. Make a plan so that it is so easy for you to practice when you're there, because any excuse for your brain, it's going to take it. And this isn't to say this because I'm like, oh, because you need to practice this much a day. I don't care if you practice on vacation. But if you want to, if you feel like you need that for yourself, then I would put all of these measures in place. Think ahead of time, because if you have social anxiety, if you don't want to disturb your neighbors, XYZ, then you want to make sure that you have arranged that with your hotel ahead of time so you know going in. I have definitely been in hotel rooms where it's 3 p.m. and I try to practice and someone's banging on the wall next to me, on my wall, because they thought I was disturbing them. I was like, dude, it's the middle of the day. I'm not even being that loud. Like, give me a break. But that can happen, and then you should have a plan in place for it. Of course, that's annoying. You just want them to talk to you about it probably, but people aren't so nice sometimes. And lastly, you don't have to do your full routine. Now, if you decide that you're going to do your priority lists, like maybe a warm up in your priority lists, and that's it on vacation, then you can go throughout your day and not feel guilty. Now, the thing that I would recommend is getting your practice done as early as possible, because you might get caught up in the day, plans might change, things get a little bit more wibbly wobbly. People usually sleep in on vacation, right? So maybe you get up early, you get ready, you have breakfast, maybe then when everyone else is having breakfast, you practice. And they get to listen while they're eating. This is a change, it's a shift, and it is a compromise, of course. But I wouldn't say that you're sacrificing this for kind of the industry or getting the thing that you want. You're doing it for the comfort of your future self. But if you can be comfortable not practicing on vacation, that's also something. Once again, totally up to you. It doesn't matter how many hours you practice while you're on vacation. If you practice at all, it honestly doesn't. That is your decision. And you are the only one that's going to make yourself feel guilty for practicing or not. If you know that you want more for yourself and you want to hit those spots on vacation and you want to practice and you are driven, and it'll make you feel better, do it. But don't half-ass it. Like, that's going to feel so much worse. So put these measures in place. Think about yourself ahead of time. Have all your plans in place and make it as easy for yourself to follow as possible. We've been talking about all of the human stuff that sometimes gets in the way of us excelling in our music careers. And I know that it's at a certain point, it is mostly the human stuff that gets in our own way, not the instrument stuff, not the music stuff. So if you want to hear more about this, please subscribe, like this video, and I want to tell you about an opportunity called my summer studio. If you're listening in the summer of 2025, this is what it is. It is a flute studio with 6 different mindset workshops to completely transform your relationship with your instrument and your mindset around music. So if that is something that you feel like you'd be interested in while also working on your flute playing, there is information in the description, and I will see you next time.